They have to get to a crisis point. Something has to happen where they go, I'm not living like this anymore. For me, it was Ann saying, I've lost my feelings for you.
Welcome to the Grace Marriage Podcast. I'm Brad Rhodes.
And I'm Marilyn Rhodes. We're here to help you build a marriage that's stronger, more connected, and full of grace.
I'm Rick Dayton, joining Brad and Marilyn as we bring you weekly conversations designed to inspire and equip you to live intentionally in your marriage.
We'll share practical tips, powerful stories, and strategies to help you and your spouse grow closer and thrive together.
So whether you're just starting out or have been married for years, there's always room to grow. Let's do this together. This is the Grace Marriage Podcast.
This is Brad Rhodes with the Grace Marriage Podcast, and I have two friends and just partners in ministries, two of the people I respect most anywhere in marriage ministry. Dave and Ann Wilson, welcome to the show.
Wow, that's quite a compliment.
No kidding. I'm totally flattered.
Well,
Glad to be here.
it's accurate though, because like when we first met you guys at Family Life, Marilyn doesn't mind giving interviews and she'll do it, but we walked out of there and she goes, I actually enjoyed that.
That's a compliment.
She really did. She was, and so it was just, I just felt like the Lord gave us, our stories intersect quite a bit. Our hearts for grace and marriage intersect. Our heart for every church having a marriage ministry intersects. And I feel my prayer is that, Scripture says two are better than one. And I pray that we're both more effective because of each other.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we are.
Now we had talked before about how ministry came ahead of Ann for a while. And the church was doing better than your marriage, at least in Ann's eyes. Law came ahead of marriage for a while and it kind of harmed us. I heard one author say, if anything comes ahead of your marriage other than Jesus, your marriage will slowly die. And I just love your thoughts on that quote.
Well, ours did. I mean, I didn't know it was dying, but it was dying. And, in front of even Jesus was Jesus' ministry that I was involved in. It could have been called law or work or business. It was called ministry. And I also didn't realize way back then that I had sort of an insecurity underneath that was driving me. And I felt like, Ann loves me. We're good. That's all good, right? Okay, good. I'm going to go out and prove to the world I'm great. And I'm going to prove that, my dad should have stayed. And all that was in there as well. So it wasn't, I had never processed any of that. And so I think I'm just following God's call, but I'm also overdoing it, trying to prove that I can do something great. And I don't want to worry about her. I got a strong, stable woman who's capable. All right, you take care of home. I'm going to go make us some money and grow a church. And please don't be a problem.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's sort of how it felt.
It did feel like that to me. And as a woman, our relationship was super important to me. Mm-hmm. And I love Jesus, but it's also hard to compete against Jesus because he's like, I'm doing this for God. So now I feel guilty about it. But I think is what happened, we got in a cycle, and I think a lot of couples do this, where maybe your spouse isn't meeting your needs or your expectations or even your desires. And when they're not, then we get into a panic mode, and now we're trying to fix it. And as a woman, especially what I do, I'm not saying all women do this, but I start getting fearful, and now I'm starting to trying to control Dave by saying things, pointing things out, being disappointed. Whether I say it or not, he can feel my disappointment and my distance. And so I think it's really easy for me as a woman to put my family, and especially my marriage, in front of God. And that sounds like, well, that's not bad, is it? To put, your family's really important. Your husband's really important. But your family is not going to meet all those needs. And neither will your husband. So I think that quote is true. I think anything that comes before God, it dismantles our life.
Yeah, I was to say, whenever you violate God's order, everything gets jacked up quick.
Yeah.
And it may not appear it instantly, but it's just so slowly disintegrating, you don't even realize it. And the interesting thing, people don't typically push you toward marriage. Right. They pull you away from it.
Even the church can do that.
Our lead pastor, who has a lot of the same gifts Dave does, he's a very good orator of the word. He's good with people. His church grew from 25 to 1,100. I know yours went all the way to 14,000, but our church keeps growing. And he's been in my Grace Marriage group for, I guess, 12 years now. And I thanked him for prioritizing his marriage. And he said, Brad, the only reason is because our marriage ministry at our church, because everybody unintentionally pulls me away from Annie. Hey, can you speak at this? Can you be at this ministry? Can you be this? Can you be that? Because nobody except Grace Marriage pushes me toward her. Everybody else is tempting me to do something away from her. And I wonder, why is it that we have a culture that's always asking things of you, but the thing they're not asking you to do is go have a great marriage?
Yeah, I mean, you know as well as I do, we've been in marriage ministry 40 years all around the country. We have seen very few great pastor marriages. It's just the reality. And the church thinks their pastor's marriage is great, but a lot of them are really struggling. A lot of it's just like ours. He is addicted to his ministry and leaving the family and his wife and saying yes to a lot of those people that are asking for his time or it could be her time, but it's easy to get caught in that cycle. I want to please the people. I want to be a good minister. They have needs. I'm supposed to be the shepherd and help meet those needs. And it feels like my wife's needs or my kids' needs aren't as important, when the opposite is actually true. They're more important, but we don't often live that way.
And I think leaders in the church, a lot of times they don't have anywhere to go with their marital issues.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so they don't have necessarily a safe place, a safe couple, or even a small group that they can let all the walls down and let people see inside of their lives. So now they're living isolated. And we all need people to know our junk and to know what's going on. But I think there's probably a lot of people in ministry that they don't have that.
It's interesting you say that, because when Annie, our pastor's wife, was asked to share from stage what she liked most about being in Grace Marriage, she said, I just love hearing all y'all's problems. and she said, because I always thought we were uniquely messed up,
Yes.
and now I know we're normal.
Yes.
And so it's like she feels, and and one time I was at a bigger church that had launched Grace Marriage, and their lead pastor told me, he said, let me take you to lunch and tell me your biggest problem. And I said, well, so he sat down. I said, what's my biggest problem? He said, you're staring at your biggest problem, me. He said, I'm asked to speak all the time. I'm blowing and going Wednesday, Sunday. He goes, my marriage is stable, but it isn't great. He said, I'm not going to be able to get up and preach some vision I'm not experiencing.
Yeah.
So I guess the question I would have for you guys is, how do we start a movement among pastors so that because, it's, as lead shepherd, it should be like, you want to know how to love a woman, watch me. It should be like, you want to see how it's done. Like Paul said, imitate me. How do we start a movement among lead pastors that marriage comes ahead of ministry? People know how to have a great marriage because their leaders showing them the way.
I mean, part of me thinks they have to get to a crisis point or they're not going to be.
That's depressing. You really think?
Well, that's one. That's not the only
It's-
thing.
Yeah.
But nobody's going to go start eating well until they have heart symptoms. They don't change their diet. It's like something has to happen where they go, I'm not living like this anymore. For me, it was Ann saying, I've lost my feelings for you. It was my two sons saying, we feel like you're more intimate with the congregation than you are with us. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're like, you're sharing stories in your sermons that we've never heard. And it was like a wake-up call to say, what am I doing? These are the most important disciples that I'm called to shepherd, not the thousands that I don't know their names. They're important, but they're not as important as these. And so it was those kind of wake-up calls that I think every pastor has to. I mean, when I was sitting at your church down in Owensboro and your pastor was there with Annie, I turned to Chad and I said, I've been doing marriage conferences all around the country for 40 years. I think this is the second pastor that's ever showed up. We go to this big mega church and, we're getting ready to speak Friday night. And I go, hey, is your pastor here? Oh, no, he's preparing for Sunday. It's really rare they even show up.
I know.
And they're like,
It's
wow, not only do they think it's not that important for their church that they're here, it's like it's not that important for their own marriage. So it's going to it needs to be traumatic to get them to wake up.
And I think
yeah.
it's super, like, when you look at scripture and understand that God created marriage before he created the church, that's putting our priorities in place. And I think the question is that Dave and I have gone through as we've gotten older. Mine is like, I'm always looking for greatness. I want our marriage to be great. He's looking for, I want my career to be great. And what's driving that motivation? Even
Mhm.
that, like, what's driving us to be great in these areas? Is it a godly, good kind of motivation, or are there past things that have kind of traumatized us, and we're striving to be
And
to perform?
and I guess if you're listening to this, I mean, encourage your pastor toward his wife.
Yeah.
Push his, like, ask him to date, have somebody offer to babysit their kids, create an atmosphere that pushes them. I mean, because let's not let Dave have to be a nationwide pastoral marriage crisis epidemic, to spark the change. But Pete Scazzaro, who wrote Emotionally Healthy Spirituality, I mean, he said, I grew a church to 5,000 that my wife refused to attend.
Yeah.
There are so many wives that say that. So
Yeah.
many.
They feel like the church is his mistress.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Marilyn felt the law was mine. I mean, I'd be happy to go out 4 nights a week getting new clients, but I wouldn't go out one night a week with her.
Right. Right.
And that's pretty sad. So if you think a pastor, you'll speak 3 nights a week, but you won't go on a date one night a week with your wife, you got something jacked up going on.
Why is that? Why do you think that's a scary thing?
Well, I mean, in some ways, it isn't 100% this way, but if you go out and speak, usually they're going to be like, thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks for being here. That was really good what you did. You go out with your wife. She's like, can we talk about us? Oh, no.
Yeah, I
That
know.
means we're not doing well. I just want to talk about my ministry. It's doing pretty good, isn't it? Aren't you glad you're married to me?
Yeah. Well, affirmation's intoxicating. It's like people love great job. Everybody's showing up to hear me speak. I'm on the stage. People, you know. And one of the neat thing I had a pastor, the lead pastor that was in a Grace Marriage group, and ministry was ahead of his marriage. She was kind of cynical. He was kind of frustrated, and he changed it. He started dating her once a week, started doing everything that we teach. And he sent me an email and it said, Brad, no longer, when I spend time with my wife, no longer do I take away from my ministry. I'm remaining qualified for it.
Oh, that's good.
He said, so now I'm dating my wife, vacation with my wife. My ministry's better. My life's better. My marriage is better. I'm telling everybody.
Wow, that's good.
That's really
Yeah.
good.
And if we can have that, because the truth is, I mean, my guess is your life's so much better now that Ann thinks the world of you than it was when the congregation did and she didn't.
Yeah, I mean, my priorities were completely flipped and reversed from what God wants our priorities to be.
And did it harm
Some
your
of that,
ministry?
some of that was my insecurity that I didn't even identify. I remember we were in our third year of marriage, maybe our fourth year of marriage, no kids, in seminary. My seminary prof one day comes in and says, hey, let me show you some research that's recently been done about the kind of men that go into ministry, and just men at this point. And basically it said the most insecure, power hungry, needy, insecure men go into ministry because ministry is the perfect job. You get a microphone, hundreds or not thousands of people listen to what you have to think and say about God and the Bible. There's lights on you. They want you to, whatever you want them, you tell them what to do. They think you have the authority to tell them what to do. Brad, I'm sitting there listening to this. I come home, tell Ann. Guess what I said to her?
What?
I go, again, we're 4 years into marriage, maybe 3. And I go, man, I am so glad I'm not one of those guys. I'm a college quarterback, man. I'm a secure dude. I can call the shots. I can make plays. Man, the kind of losers go into ministry, man, I'm sure glad it's not me. Not realizing that was me.
Yeah.
And so I ran to the spotlight. I ran to the mic because it gave me affirmation, and I ran away because I wasn't very good as a husband. I was pretty good at my job. I wasn't as good at this. And I decided I got to get good at this because this is more important than that.
Yeah.
I think what happens too with the spouse is we become very performance oriented. I'm already like that with myself. But now I put that performance on Dave, and I'm thinking he's failing miserably. I better let him know that he's failing miserably, and I better remind him that the family is supposed to come right after God, not the church. And so I just became really good at pointing out all the things he was doing wrong, and that's not grace marriage. That's called performance driven marriage.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
man, it's hard not to do that, but I needed women in my life that I could say, can you pray for me with this? I'm really struggling to love Dave unconditionally. What does that look like without losing my voice? So I think it's both, because the wife, man, we have so much power in the marriage, because Dave's insecurity. I didn't realize he's feeling insecure about how to be a husband and a dad. I had no idea. And yet I have the power to be able to speak life into him, to give him the confidence that he needs, that will draw him home and make him feel confident in that role too.
Yeah, and now he wants to be with you, wants to
Yeah.
spend time with you, because there's no graceful, sweeter, kinder place in the world for Dave than Ann. And I remember, this is you being a former college quarterback. My junior year, Furman won the national championship in the 1AA, which is, I think they call it the FCS now.
Yeah.
We had a freshman quarterback, and our first game was against Marshall. He went 4 for 24 with 4 interceptions.
Wow.
And they interviewed his coach after the game. His name was Frankie. And the coach said, Frankie is an elite quarterback, an elite talent. We didn't block well. Our receivers didn't run well. He is our guy. He always will be our guy. He's an amazing quarterback. Trust me on this one. We won the national championship and only lost one more game, and it was to like Clemson. But the key was, that was a key point. That's a key point. So it's like the encouragement the coach provided and the belief that, you as a quarterback probably can resonate. Probably, that was kind of a key point. So when your husband's down and your husband's struggling, you go all stinking in on him. Man, I can't tell you what that means to a husband.
Yeah. Well, I was really working on my tongue, trying to get, here's my prayer to God. God, if I want to say something, because I'm a verbal processor, I just want to say it. And so I felt like God was putting me on this path to ask this question. Ask and pray. Should I say it first? And then when and where should I say it? So Dave comes home this one night. He'd been on the sidelines of the Lions. He'd preached how many times? 3 or 4?
5 times that weekend.
So he's exhausted. He's getting into bed, and he just drops this as he's crawling into bed. Man, I've been getting all this critique on my sermons lately. I'm so embarrassed to tell you this, but here was my first thought, and in the past, I would have said this. And I thought, well, if you'd spend more time studying the scriptures, I think that your sermons would be way better. That's what I thought. So I pray, God, should I say that? No. So then my prayer is, God, should I say anything? And so this is James says, if any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God. So Lord, should I say anything? And this is the thought that popped into my head. And I said this, man, I can't imagine what it's like to be you. You have thousands of people depending on your walk with God. What a weighty thing that is to carry. And then there is just silence. And then he pulls me over and he whispers in my ear, you are my life. And that's the power that we can have and carry. And what if I would have said, if you just spend more time studying the scriptures, that's demotivating. So I think it's really interesting how we as a couple can work together to do something great.
Yeah, and we need that. It's like, you can literally, marriage either makes both people worse or both people better.
Yes.
Yeah, and when they come off in Christ, I said, right now you are both worse human beings because you're married to one another.
Yeah.
And I said, but the good news is you have an opportunity to become both extremely better human beings because you're married to each other. You can call out the best in one another. It's funny about the sermon thing too. I had a preacher and I was bothered by something he had said. And I called a guy who'd been in ministry 40 years. And I said, how do I address it with him? And he said, Brad, just don't address it with him. I'm like, what? He said, Brad, he's got plenty of problems without adding you to you becoming one of them.
He's right.
He said, just leave him alone.
Yeah, just
And I,
pray
and,
for him.
and I'd say if, in every church, there's about 4 or 5 people that give about 90% of the critique. And if you're listening, you're one of those 4, stop.
Yeah.
I mean, you've probably seen this. If somebody's really upset about something, can't you gently narrow it down to about 5 people?
Oh yeah. Yeah, and you see them and you turn and run.
Yeah. And to what you said, Marilyn says, when I'm bothered about something, I go to God first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then only if it sticks with me do I ever share it with
Me
Brad.
too.
So she goes, if 2 or 3 days later it's still sitting on me and I feel like compelled, I do. But early on in marriage, she didn't go to God first. She came to me first.
Yeah.
And now it's like she rarely comes to me with things, but when she does, man, I listen. And before she came to me all the time and I never listened. Now she comes to me occasionally and I listen 10 out of 10 times.
Yeah, and I've had women say, I shouldn't have to do that. Like we've been married so long, I should just be able to say it. And I'm thinking, we weigh our words with strangers. Why wouldn't we really weigh our words with the people that live in our homes? Like we want to build life into them and hope. And so my thing that I had to pray too is, Lord, tell me how to say it, because I can be kind of harsh and how I say it. So I think even how we say it's important.
I used to dread sharing my sermons with Marilyn. And frankly, I still do. I mean, because I share them with her before I preach and I dread it because I know what she says is going to be right. And one time it was like a week before I preached and I shared the whole sermon with her. She says, Brad, that is so gentle and broad. I mean, it's like, she says, I just really think you need to start all over. And then I got frustrated at her and it wasn't it. And then I like paused and the reason I was so frustrated is I thought, she's right. Like I've covered everything in a sermon and nothing at the same time. But we just go ahead.
Well, just so you know, this is how secure Dave is. He's given me permission to do this because he'll preach off of his iPad now. And we have the means by streaming. I can listen as he's preaching and I'll text him something that will pop up on his iPad.
In real time during the sermon.
It's almost like a quarterback's headset. It's like a quarterback's headset. She's like speaking into. You need like the quarterback thing now. The coach can talk to the quarterback with 15 seconds before the play clock. The coach can't talk anymore.
Right.
So you actually can.
But you like that, and I don't do it often.
I like it. I was preaching a couple months ago. She was home, and I was going to preach 4 times. So this is the first of 4.
And I wasn't at the first service.
So critiquing the first one is going to make the next 3 better. And literally 3/4 toward the end of the message, this little text comes up and says, no, it wasn't David. It was Joe. I said something wrong. And I literally go, hey, my wife just texted me. I meant to say, they're all like laughing out loud. Like they all knew I messed it up. So anything like that. Now, if it was somebody else, I'd be like, stay out of my business. But when it's somebody I know loves me, believes in me, has spoken life to me, is now going to help sharpen me. Bring it on.
And he's so good. Like he's so good. I rarely say anything. And it's not a critique. It's usually more of a, hey, what you could add this to it too. Just
But the reason you have that capital is because he now knows you're his biggest fan. He now knows nobody speaks more life into him than you. So now it's like when you critique, it's like he knows the heart behind it.
Yeah.
So and to tell the audience about your book again, because this goes right into what your book's about.
Yeah, it's called How to Speak Life to Your Husband When All You Want to Do Is Yell at Him.
Yeah, and I wrote at the end of each chapter,
yeah.
so you get a husband's perspective, sort of, especially to the wives, to say, okay, here's what Ann just said. Here's what your husband's probably thinking. Here's what I'm thinking. Ask him this, because I bet you it's going to hit your husband this way. So it was sort of fun to do that together because we're trying to help all marriages, not just the wives.
But honestly, Dave rarely criticizes me or says anything negative. And there's a part of him that I think he sees the best in me, which is an incredible compliment. It's either that or he just avoids conflict. But either way, he rarely says negative things. So for him to say something truthful, I think we as women, sometimes we need to hear that ourselves. Like we need to hear a good word that's spoken in love that could help us to be better of saying, hun, I feel so discouraged
I think we were
sometimes.
married like 18 months when she admitted one time she was wrong. And I pulled out my paper and I wrote the date down and the
Yeah,
time. I said,
yeah,
"Here it is. You
yeah.
finally admitted you're
I'm
wrong."
so much more prideful than
Yeah,
Dave
you,
is and
you,
arrogant.
she finally shanked a drive, didn't she?
Yeah,
So,
finally.
yes, I took
In
her.
the woods? Yeah, the ball's in the woods. I didn't hit it there. Yeah, you did.
Yeah, but it's interesting because Scripture says wounds from a friend can be trusted.
Right.
And our best friend in the world is our spouse.
Yeah.
So I know that when Marilyn wounds me, like shares with me something I've done wrong or something I need to change, I know I can trust it.
So, Brad, I know that it's not often that Dave criticizes me. What about you and Marilyn? Do you often point out something she needs to hear?
Or ever?
Historically, no, because like I just love fun. Like I want things to just be fun all the time. I don't like conflict. I don't like, my board actually had a conversation with me a couple of board meetings ago. Like you have to have a hard conversation every now and then. Life can't, because my tendency is to just pretend everything's okay when it's not. Marilyn's called me a delusional optimist.
You guys are so similar.
And she said, but lately I've done it more, especially in parenting, because Marilyn can over preach to our adult children. Um, I tell my kids all the time, I said, look, you got perfect parents. I've said, because I underparent, she overparents. Like together, we're just perfect. I mean, it's like, so like, give me grace that I never parent, and then give Marilyn grace that she overparents because we need her to overparent because I underparent. So,
That's
but
totally us too.
but now Marilyn responds differently. Like if I say, "Hey, I feel like you need to," like she'll be on the phone and she'll look at me and I go, "Stop, stop, stop!" Stop, because they're not buying what you're selling. So, but it is our relationships now evolved that we both give each other a lot more input than we used to. And it feels really easy and doesn't feel all that critical. I mean, I feel like I know I don't have a bigger fan in this world than Marilyn Rhodes. I mean, not even stinking close, So it's pretty, it's easier for us than it used to be. What about you guys?
Same thing. I mean, my by far biggest fan, biggest cheerleader is right here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, we talked about before. It's a journey we've both been on, but because she believes in me and trusts me and honestly just praises me every day, when she has something hard to say, I know it's the truth. I know I need to hear it. I know she's only saying it to make me better and make us better. So that balance of her believing in me allows for me to be open to her critiquing me, and I want it and I need it.
And I think Dave is a lot like you, Brad, where he will tell me the truth about the kids. Like, Ian, you need to pull back and you need to get out of their business. And I do appreciate that. I might get defensive right at first, actually, but I do appreciate his wisdom in it because he's viewing it from the outside and he's watching the faces of our kids. So I do appreciate that. You don't come to me as often with personal stuff, but then again, I don't think as much stuff bothers him.
Yeah,
She's pretty perfect,
I'm not
well,
at even
Drives me
close.
crazy.
well, Dave, when I got married, I got a letter from Marilyn's best friend said, "In my lifetime, I've never met a human being more like Jesus Christ. The way no, she did. He said the way she loves people, the way she speaks. She goes, I just hope you realize what you're getting."
Wow.
Oh, that's so
Wow.
sweet. No pressure.
And I'll tell you, it's like if people that know Marilyn, it is true. Like I mean, I had one guy I was trying to help him in his marriage. He goes, "Yeah, it's easy for you to say you're married to Marilyn."
Yeah.
It's like okay, like anybody would be a good husband if they're married to Marilyn, you know. So I get it, but I guess as we kind of close out this episode, just my encouragement is speak life into one another, like Anne's book says. Make it that at most 5% of your communication's critical, 95% is positive, and then they'll actually listen to 5%. Because if it's 95% critical and 5% positive, they won't listen to a word you're saying.
I mean, you want your husband or you want your wife running home.
Yeah,
That's what flipped in our marriage. Is man, I run home. I'm like, where else would I rather be than with this woman who believes in me and says it. So it transformed our whole life. And I have to do the same to her. It isn't just her to me, but that's something that God wants to bring in it's a you know what it's called, Brad? You know what it's called?
Grace.
It's called
Grace
grace marriage.
Yeah, and there's times we all go crazy. I mean, it's like life gets us. We're moving right now from two houses, so like Marilyn isn't thinking about me right now. She's thinking about like making sure our house looks better than it's ever looked for the people that are moving in. I mean, it's like I'm like, would you stop? We're literally trying to figure out. There's 2 oil spots in the driveway, and she went 1 oil spot in our driveway when our new people get there. I'm like, would you please stop? She's like, well, there's a problem with the fridge. We'll buy you a new fridge. Make sure it's there before you get here. Oh, you like our bar stools? They're your bar stools now. I'm like, stop, but Marilyn's so sweet. But right now, she's not thinking a lot of me, and that's fine.
Yeah.
She's moving. So give each other grace. Don't think you just have to be the center of their universe all the time. God didn't, if you feel like you have to be the center of your spouse's world all the time, you're needy.
You're
Yes.
a needy, insecure person. Yep.
Yeah. So pick up Ann's book, pick up Vertical Marriage, listen to Family Life Broadcast. David, Ann, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Thank you so much for being so encouraging.
Anytime.
Yeah, thanks.
Hey, I hope God,
tailgate at a University of Kentucky game with you someday.
UK.
You never know.
if you,
Here's a UK, student right here.
well, I won't be in the parking lot until Saturday. So,
Okay.
hey, God bless you guys.
You too.
Thank you for joining us on the Grace Marriage Podcast. We really hope you're feeling inspired to take intentional steps to grow in your marriage.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with a friend. Your support helps us spread the message of grace and reach even more couples.
And if you have a moment, please leave us a review. Your feedback means a lot to us and helps others discover the podcast.
To learn more about how you can grow in your marriage, visit us at gracemarriage.com. Keep building stronger, grace-filled marriages.
We'll see you next week on the Grace Marriage Podcast. Until then, keep growing in grace.